to the back, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I got a couple of very special guests for you guys here today, and we're going to talk about the topic that has been just thrown in our faces for the last probably 2 years now, and that's everything AI related. But we're going to be taking a slightly different angle. What if you've demoed a bunch of products out there? Maybe it's out of your price point. You know, for a bootstrap founder like myself, you know, I do have to take price into consideration. And then on top of it, what if the capabilities that are out there aren't what you're looking for specifically for your business? Every business has their own unique needs. And we're going to be talking about, what if you just want to build it on your own? Maybe you want to go out there and invest in your own technology. So we're going to be breaking down some steps on how to make all of that a reality. So I have Herbert back on the show with Avanza, and then I also have Sterling back on the, or for the first time on the show, excuse me, to break all of this stuff down. So fellas, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me today.
Absolutely, Chris. Pleasure to be back and excited to jump into this topic that's been surrounding all year long in an industry.
Absolutely. Excited to be here, Chris, and jump into the AI conversation and share some insights with your followers.
So Sterling, we're going to start with you because it's your first time on the show, man. What brought you into this, right? Like, give us a little bit of a background about what you're doing here.
Yeah, no, I've been in technology ever since I graduated from university. Actually, I think the group I work for, actually Global Trans, and the spinoff into 10-4 were some of the very first clients I ever worked on out of university. So I've been around the space for quite a while. And, you know, I think in the tech world, it just continues to evolve. And, you know, when I graduated in 2010, mobile apps were the hot thing, right? Everybody needed a mobile app strategy. And today it's data and AI, and figuring out how you get AI to empower your business is just now the hot topic in tech. So it's been a journey, but it's the topic of the day.
And, you know, Herbert, what brought you guys to this spot right now as well, right? Like, you guys are out on the road a lot at Avanza. You guys are checking out shows. You guys are seeing what's out there. Kind of what brought you to this decision of like, we need to maybe bring some of this in-house, or at least have this as a service offering to our clients?
I think, Chris, for the entire year, just like we know, we have been hearing a lot about AI and automation and bringing technology. And, you know, by the end of this year, you know, I'm seeing a lot of companies out there offering this type of products and services at a really high price. And I think there is a market in the industry that might not have the budget to go and buy or rent technology. And then, you know, as we move forward in this trend, a lot of companies are offering quite similar solutions, just with a different name and interface. And sometimes it's which one is cooler, which one is more friendly and easy to use. But at the end, the real question here is, just like you kind of like said in the opening of the show, is like, is this solution or product is going to really address any specific problem that we have internally in our logistics operations? And I think that's where the big question is, should I buy a generic solution that might solve some of my problems, or should I think about building something that it can actually bring value to my clients and to my carriers?
You know, one of the things that always comes to my mind when I see a lot, again, I am not an AI expert at all, but like I've been deep diving a lot into the technology and what it all stands for. Just like with anybody, I started with using ChatGPT, Grok, and really kind of training myself up on it. And one thing that I've been thinking about a lot is, well, this thing gets better the more I tell it what to do. If I'm out there and I'm working on an off-the-shelf product, are all of my proprietary tendencies that I think which makes my business unique in the market, do I own that? Or does that go to make their product better? Therefore, my competition is going to now start to get better based on the inputs that I'm putting in. And then if I'm maybe putting every dollar I have into that piece of AI, for example, that it's an off-the-shelf one, and I'm now, my competition who spend more money on lunch in a year than I do, and or whatever from like an AI perspective, are they now getting the benefits of it? That's the thing that comes to my mind. The first is it's like, if I'm going to use something like a large language model, if I'm going to use something like an AI product that's off the shelf, is that my version that's staying better, or is it all of their customers that are now benefiting from it? And then therefore all of my competition is getting better based off of my product knowledge.
It's a complex question, Chris. I think it comes down to, certainly what tool you're using, right? So as I've worked with a host of companies on their AI governance, AI strategy, right? Really what I've seen every company start to do is say, hey, you cannot use a ChatGPT or Grok, like public models that are available to the public, because it does suck that data. And it does learn from you. So it says, hey, I know you're Chris, and this is how I like to ride, or these are the things I'm interested in. So it does learn from you, but that because it's a public model, it can get sucked up into the public world and be used. So I think as you say, hey, I want to protect this, make it safe, you could certainly, use an OpenAI library, but you need to keep your data set secure and then be leveraging the model and making sure it's that private LLM model, and you're not going out to a public LLM, because it can easily get out into the public.
So Sterling, let me ask you this. How can anybody who's vetting potential AI vendors and partners ensure that that's happening? How can I make sure that my stuff is protected if I'm going out there and demoing a bunch of these companies?
Yeah, I would be certainly talking to their InfoSec team and information security team as you're going through that discovery process, making sure that you've got very clear questions about, okay, this is my data, I want it to reside here. If I'm using your LLM, what are you guys doing on the backside to ensure that my data remains secure and you're not training your model on my data and then exposing it publicly? So I think asking those questions, obviously looking inside your service level agreements, inside of the contracts you're going to want to really dive into, but asking a lot of really great questions up front and making sure you get that guarantee.
Herbert, when you guys are out there, because, again, you guys are constantly looking for tech to implement inside of Avanza that you guys can deliver out to your customers. How have you been able to kind of filter through what Sterling's talking about to ensure, like, hey, if you guys are going to invest in a product for your guys' company, that is staying, internally to Avanza and Avanza's customers?
I'll be honest with you, it's extremely hard, because as a nearshore company, now we're just not dealing with our own data, but with our clients' data. And that's a really sensitive area that you just cannot risk. So when bringing technology that has already been built, trying to implement it in our customer operations, then there is this area of what happens if something happens with their data. Like, since they're doing it through us, but there's actually a tech company providing the solution and the service. So it is a very sensitive area in which, unless it's not, it's linear or in very clear in what data is going to be used on this tech, then we just rather don't put at risk our clients' data.
Yeah, so those are a lot of concerns of mine as well when we're going out there. But like my biggest thing is somebody who's bootstrapping their businesses up is the cost, right? And again, I'm a capitalist. Everybody's got to make money at the end of the day. I'm a massive fan of the free market and everything that it stands for. But I also have to look at my P&L as well, and I only have so much to invest in, tech that is out there. And I look at it as again, if you have any familiarity with ChatGPT, Grok, the Microsoft, like there's a bunch of different free AI versions that are out there. And I'm seeing a lot of this. And it has got me to think, like, if I'm out there and I'm demoing these companies and they're all $5,000-$10,000 a month price points, and that's quadruple my budget that I can invest into something like this. Naturally, being the entrepreneur that I am, I want to look at, well, can I just build this on my own? Because if there's products that are out there that are, out of my budget, or the capabilities aren't exactly what I need for my business, because no two freight brokerages are the same. There are a lot of people out there who are, maybe they're contract freight heavy, a lot of repeatable, scalable processes, but then there's brokers out there who are building their business, and each customer might be spot market. It might be full truckload. It might be LTL. There's a lot of things out there, and there's not a one size fits all component to it. So it's like, that's why I'm kind of at the point now where it's like, maybe it is better for us to build our own AI product that we can just take off the shelf ourselves, build it up the way that we want it done, as opposed to going out there, because again, price is the biggest factor out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was going to add, it's, I think there's a level of AI is just expensive, right? If you get into the foundationals of the, not just the development that's gone into, these learning models, but you get into the hardware, the GPUs, everything you need to run AI. It's become so expensive, right? I think at this point, unless you're one of the largest companies in the world, you are leveraging, at the end of the day, somebody else's platform, right? So whether you're going to GCP and grabbing Gemini, you're going to AWS, grabbing some Bedrock, you go to Microsoft and use OpenAI or Copilot. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of opportunity to say, hey, we need to go out and build something specific for us. But at the end of the day, with where the cost points are today, we're going to be paying still one of the hyperscalers to use their service.
Yeah, and I want to add to that, Chris, is that you need to have really clear what kind of business and how your business runs. So if you really stand out from your competitors because of your DNA and because you have really specific workflows that makes you unique and different, then I think that's a really good base of what you will want to build. But if you just want to automate some repetitive tasks, then maybe buying or renting them, it might not be a bad idea. But if you want to have that edge, that competitive advantage with your operations, then maybe building and have the data ownership might be the route you want to take.
So let's talk about this, because like I'm almost to the point now in my business where I'm more committed to just building my own stuff based on where my business's capabilities are. Because again, like there's a lot of great products that are out there. And I want to be abundantly clear. I am not knocking any business or product that is out there in regards to AI and transportation. I think there's a lot of great stuff, but it's like, again, for where my business is today, I haven't necessarily found anything that I could implement at the cost that I can afford to deploy it at. So it's like, I'm to the point now where it's like, I want to just explore potentially building our own stuff that's out there. So how do I come to you guys, right? I think ultimately, and that's going to be a question a lot of people is, how do I come to you and really get something off the ground and running? If I want to be like, you know what, if I'm going to do it, I'd rather do it, have it proprietary, have it all in-house.
I leave the technicalities to Sterling, but I think a really important thing here is to make sure that you have the correct workflows structured and SOPs in place, and that you have your data very well organized before you even want to move the needle into technology and into automation and AI. And Sterling can, dive more into this, but during Technovations, Nick Dagels and Ryan Schreiber was talking about that a lot of companies, they just go with a problem. For example, like, hey, I need a AI agent to handle 100 calls a day.
Yeah.
But first, they don't answer the question themselves about why. What's the reason we cannot handle those 100 calls? Like, what's wrong in our process? What's wrong in our workflow? And then, someone at a tech company, if you go with that question and they can get it done, they're going to say, sure, we can do that for you. But they're not really sure if that's the real solution that your business needs. So when you come to us, you're going to have the logistics expertise and the tech background with Data Guru's team, letting you know if that's something that it needs to be tweaked a little bit more before you move into the creation and implementation phase, or if we need to restructure your logistics workflow first.
Do you think that that's the biggest oversight by a lot of companies then? If we're going to be like, hey, we're going to start exploring technology, step one isn't necessarily, let's look at our current process. Let's see, can we even automate this? Because like I say it all the time, right? Like, hey, technology is great, but if you have shitty processes, you're just automating shitty processes at that point. And I look at it is that's an angle that I think is where a lot of companies should look first. All right, let's look internally. Are our processes where they need them to be? And sometimes that's the benefit of bringing in some outside eyes to look at your stuff, because most people are creatures of habit. They're creatures of comfort. They're okay with good enough because good enough is getting the bills paid. They're not looking at how do we actively improve our internal operations.
Exactly. And if you think about it, these new tech companies, they have raised millions of dollars and they have an army of salespeople, and obviously they're revenue driven. So when you talk to some of these salespeople that might not understand logistics, that might not understand what's the life cycle of a shipment, and you just come with a question about, can you automate this for me? They're probably going to say yes, because of course they can do it. But again, the real question is that really what you need in your business? Is this gonna just make you invest money for a year and then be like, you know what, I cannot keep up with this, there's no investment in this? Or is this gonna be a true feature that's gonna help boost your operations?
Yeah, and I'd second that. I think, Harvard Business Review has put out that 85% of AI projects are failing at this point, because I think so many companies have approached them as, hey, I just want to implement this AI tool. I want to, basically they're just trying to solve their bottom line, hard, repetitive task and tough challenges, but they don't take into account the organizational change management time it's going to take to implement that, and people don't adopt it at just a low level. So I agree with you, Chris. There's a lot of benefit to having somebody come in and say, hey, we're not just going to look maybe at the current process. We're going to look at where the future process with AI needs to be. And that might mean a large organizational shift in how you do things today. We're going to have to restructure some of your processes, some of your workflows, and we need to take it up a level to actually make the AI a successful implementation for your organization.
Do you think most companies try and automate too much too soon? Do you think that they don't take the smart scale up approach to it? Because I think and again, I'm a sales rep, right? I'm not blaming sales reps, but it's like, if you see a lot of the marketing push that's out there and the verbiage that's out there from a lot of these AI companies, and this isn't even just a transportation thing, this is an overarching statement. The capabilities that they're marketing very rarely match up to what their product can actually do when you're deploying it. And that's why, again, it's like, if you're going to invest in anything right now, I look at it as if I'm going to be doing it, I want to start small, digestible bites. What can I automate inside of my business? Those menial tasks that are behind the scenes, because I look at it, I personally think the biggest competitive advantage in business over the next 5 years is going to be your ability to talk to somebody in person, show up to somebody's facility and meet them face to face. Because I think automation is going to be overdone. I really feel that way, because again, people are going to look for the easiest route, the path of least resistance. They're going to try and automate their entire operations, where I look at it is as a broker, 90% of my day should be automated. But that 10%, that customer facing, and I include my drivers and carriers in that equation, that needs to be done by a person every single time, no matter what. You're not going to change my opinion on that. There's a lot of people out there who are like, oh, hold on a second. No, my opinion is that human to human interaction is never going to be a component that I want to automate away.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Automation's an easy place to start, right? And I think could get into a conversation about, there are so many different types of AI, right? I think in today's world, the chat bots and the generative AI have they've kind of taken the spotlight, if you will, right? But there's so many tools behind the scenes, whether it's, Microsoft's Power Automate, you look at groups like UiPath and different tools you can use just to automate your workflows. And there's AI in there to reduce manual labor, to solve issues on the fly. And then as you're out in the field, like you said, yeah, people need to be there in person with their clients, having that human relationship. And then, hey, in those situations, hey, maybe I can use generative AI as a tool to on the fly make things happen faster, right? So I think, again, to what Herbert alluded to, is you need to define each of those use cases for your business. And then you need to be selecting the right AI tools to be doing the right things at the right time. And it's typically not just one AI platform or one AI tool.
So what's the logical first step then? Of like, let's go with this as, people out there are, what's a good spot that a lot of people could start today? Is it step one, maybe just getting familiar with a free, LLM model through Microsoft, ChatGPT, Grok, get familiar with that? Is that a logical first step for people to take? So maybe they have a better understanding about what they're walking into before they come to guys like you.
I would say the logical first step is, in my mind, is actually sit down and look inside your business and say, what are my real pain points, and where am I really losing money? And if I could find a way to get better insights, I would be in a better spot, right? So I would look and say, hey, if I'm getting a bunch of BOLs and I'm having, somebody manually read them and it's thousands a day, I'm spending a bunch of time, there's manual entry errors. We might go, hey, that's your number one problem. Really what you need to be researching is actual text to data, right? So we can scan those PDFs, they can get put right into a shipping system, and that can happen instantly using AI. You might say, hey, my real problem is when my agents are out in the field talking to clients, they don't know about XYZ. Hey, I actually really need something more like a co-pilot out in the field that has access to our, whether it be a SharePoint or data repository, to quickly ask questions and say, hey, how have we solved this before? Where have we solved this for other clients? Or when we're shipping this way, what are our processes? That's kind of more that generative AI approach. So it really comes down to, hey, let's look at what your main problem is and start there and do some research on what's available in the market.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that, right? I think it's that is where, because like one thing that we've done, and again, as this is just what, from a business development perspective inside of our operations right now, is that's where we're using AI the most, is we're trying to get it to help us, smooth out our processes. Like, I hate people who make sales calls blind. Like, they're like, as a business owner, I get them, not a lot, but like I get them, I get emails, DMs, and I'm like, this is some of the most lazy stuff that I've seen out there. So like, one thing that we found is like, we're going to go out there and we're going to try and use it to gather as much information as possible. So like, cause that's our spot that we, is our big focus in our business. Like, we need to make money, we need revenue, we need more customers. How do we stand out in a crowd? And that's where we're using AI the most right now, is to get in there, find as much information as we can, geographic footprint, all of that stuff. So we're very tailored in our approach. And I think like that's one of those areas where we're like, the power of it is like, it amazes me that there are people out there who are like against it, and then same thing from like a sales training. Cause like, again, we just started using Avanta again inside of our business. We, who's coming out there. We have a girl by the name of Elena who's doing business development work for us right now. We utilize AI to go out there and help us, get our training modules in place for it, so we can go out there and work. And again, it's like we're finding that that's the best first step for us of like, this is what our business needs the most. So it's like getting that, automating it, and then really deploying it. But again, it's like, I look at it as it's a massive trial and error phase right now with AI in general, because it's like, we got to find where can we implement it to our business the fastest, to where it's like we can pack the biggest punch out there in the market. And I almost look at it as there's so much technology that is out there at your disposal right now. But I think the ones, taking that small digestible approach, because I look at it as over the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a massive, massive automation push that's out there. But I think the overall vendors are going to be whittled down to a couple of key ones that are going to kind of control the space in every industry. And I'm also like, if we're going to compete with that as we're building our business, maybe that's why it just makes the most sense for us to continue to build our own tech and just build it up with it. Because I look at it like from an AI perspective, man, you're going to be able to compete with some of the largest brands in the world with just a handful of people in the next 5 years, I bet.
Yeah, and it's funny, Chris, because you just explain your very own case study, and you just have a very good reason of why you might want to build your own technology, and that's why, because you want to stay unique and you want to stay with such a tailored approach to your clients. And when you're going out there are a lot of technologies that are very generic that can help you, maybe solve some of your issues, but it doesn't really separate you from your competition. And that's where, when you utilize your very own data and your very own processes to build something, that's what it's gonna make you stand out from the rest.
Yeah. And I also, again, for me, long term, it's more important for Chris Jolly to own Chris Jolly. And if I'm going to go out there and invest in anything, I'm going to invest in ourselves and trying to make ourselves better, because, I don't like, and I say that in the sense of like, I don't want to take on investment in investors into my business to have to be able to afford to deploy technology at like the price points that I've seen out there. And it's like, I don't want to give away equity in my business to have an AI product that's off the shelf or anything like that, because everything that's out there is above our price point. And, and I look at it as, it's like, how do we have the little guys in business, the small mom and pop organizations that are the backbone of this industry? How do we implement and deploy AI where it's a feasible thing inside of our businesses without breaking the bank, or having us have to like look at 3 people who've been employees of us for 20 years and be like, sorry guys, we're laying you off because we want to automate your job away.
Yeah, like historically, building an AI has been really expensive for a mid-level market in logistics. And just right now, companies that have access to build their own technology with the same quality, utilizing nearshore teams. But then you have a translation gap as well, where if you're doing this by yourself, and let's say you have the budget to hire a PM or someone to be in charge of the project, but then you have a translation gap with the people that you're hiring, and they might not understand logistics. And that's going to take you a long time for them to kind of like get into the industry, and you still need to pay them. But, with some of the solutions and, the overall idea that we have is that we're gonna pretty much just close that gap, and you'll be able to talk to us about your technology needs, AI automation needs, and we'll be able to understand exactly what you need because of our background in logistics. And we'll train the team in logistics and make sure that since day one we can start bringing some value to you.
No, I agree, right? And it's so important to be able to partner with vendors out there that have that understanding, the below surface level understanding about how logistics works. And, I'm excited, man. Like, I just think, again, it's about how do we find the right products for your business, right? And then and this is the thing that I want people to think about, especially as a lot of people are breaking for Christmas. Why do you have to look outside to go find the right product and technology for your business, right? And I'm not even saying this from like an operations standpoint in transportation. Like, what if you haven't found the right accounting software for your business? You can now use AI to do that, right? Like, dude, and that's the crazy thing, where I've been using it to review contracts now, right? Where it's like my attorney, who I pay a lot of money to, I know that they're telling me the right stuff, but like, I don't understand everything that they're saying at times. And I have to Google certain keywords and contracts where it's like, now do you just drop it into AI and have it spit it out and say, break it down in plain English. Right. And that's the best part, where it's like, man, you're not confined to any boxes anymore to be competitive with technology. You can literally develop your own stuff out there. And it might even be cheaper overall to develop your own software than it is to go out there and buy it off the shelf anymore. So with that being said, it's like I'm going to have you guys back on again, because like there's a lot more we can talk about this, and I want to continue to get more and more granular on this, because this is going to be something that in all reality, we might be exploring here personally. You know, we're already exploring it, developing our own proprietary stuff, because I think that with the playing field that is AI right now, you need to be exploring it on your own, because there's a lot of opportunities that are out there. But Sterling and Herbert, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me today. How does anybody reach out to you guys, though, to find out more about what you got going on?
Sterling?
Yeah, no, we'd be happy to share all of our contact info, but you can go to either of our websites. You can go to the Avanza website. You can go to the Data Gurus website. Drop us in a contact form if you'd like to learn more about anything from getting your data in place, making sure you've got the right data sets, talking AI development, any sort of analytics, and then obviously all of the nearshoring capabilities of Avanza as well.
Yeah, and we are working. So stay tuned for an official launch of what Data Gurus and Avanza has created for the logistics industry. We're really excited about this. It's the perfect holiday gift for all logistics and freight tech companies out there that that are working in developing and creating their very own technology. So we'll be launching soon our new vertical. In conjunction with Data Gurus, and so it's going to be a lot easier to reach out to us and find all the info that you need.
Perfect. Fellas, thank you guys so much for joining me. That is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be our last show, obviously, before Christmas. You guys know what to do. All I got to say is thank you guys so much for everything. I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas and you're able to spend some time with your family. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang.